Gestures and their origins. Most of the basic gestures of communication around the world are the same. When a person is happy, they laugh. When he is angry or sad, his eyebrows or forehead are knitted. A nod of the head means an affirmation or a yes almost all over the world. This gesture is a form of humility and is probably innate, as it is also used by deaf and blind people. Shaking the head to also almost universally means a negative answer or no. This gesture is probably learned in infancy. When the baby has already had a big drink of milk, avoiding the mother's breast, usually turns its head from side to side. When the child is a little older has eaten, he or she turns his or her head from side to side to avoid the parent's diligent spooning. In this way, he quickly comes to associate head turning with disagreement or resistance. The origins of some gestures can easily be traced to the distant evolutionary past. In the animal world, showing teeth means aggression. But modern man, too, sometimes uses this gesture in anger. Of course, does not mean that the human being will immediately put his teeth to work. By the way, it is interesting that the smile, which is, after all, also a kind of tooth display of teeth, used to be a gesture of aggression, whereas nowadays it is associated with pleasure and satisfaction. A good example of a universal gesture is the shrug. This gesture is used to show that the person does not know or does not understand what the speaker is talking about. It is a complex gesture consisting of 3 elements: palms facing forward, shoulders up and eyebrows raised. By the way, just like words, some nonverbal signals can have different expressions in different cultures. If in one cultural setting, this or that gesture is commonplace and understood by all, in another cultural setting it may be completely meaningless or even have the opposite meaning. Let us look at 3 common hand gestures in the context of different cultures. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to help my channel grow, giving me the motivation to keep creating content. A ring or OK sign. This gesture became popular in America in the early 19th century. It was popularized by newspapers, which by then had caught on to the silly fashion of shortening common phrases by using only the first letters of words. There are many different opinions as to what the letters of the OK symbol mean. Some people think it means a distorted version of all correct, while others say it an inversion of the word knockout. K.O. Yet another popular theory is that OK is an abbreviation for Old Kinderhook. This was the birthplace of one of the 19th century American presidents, who used these initials as a slogan during the Civil War. Which theory is correct, we may never know, but it seems to be the case that the ring of the thumb and index finger represents the letter O in OK symbol. The meaning of OK is the same in all English-speaking countries. However, although this sign is spreading rapidly in Europe and Asia, in some places it has a different origin and a different meaning. For example, in France, it means zero or nothing. In Japan, it means money. In some Mediterranean countries, it means whole, and is often used as a symbol of homosexuality. When traveling around the world, the safest rule to follow is, when you are in Rome, do as the Romans do. This will help you avoid unpleasant situations. The symbol of the raised thumb. In the United States, Britain, Australia and New Zealand, the symbol of the raised thumb has 3 meanings. It is often used by hitchhikers to stop cars in motion. It also corresponds to the OK signal, and if the thumb is raised in a sudden upward motion, this gesture is an insulting replica, corresponding to the meaning of the thumb raised upwards. When in some countries, such as Greece, its main meaning is go to hell or get up your ass. One can understand what an American hitchhiker might expect if he tried to use such a gesture in Greece. The Italians, counting to 5, the gesture is used to say 1 and the index finger to say 2. Meanwhile, most Americans and English people use their index finger to say 1 and their big finger to say 2. The thumb is the last one to bend and is known to mean 5. When combined with other gestures, the raised thumb can also be used to express power and superiority or to indicate an attempt to subdue another person to one's influence. The V sign. This mark is popular in the UK and Australia and has an offensive subtext of raised big toe. Winston Churchill popularized the V as a symbol of victory in World War II. However, his popularization of the V sign version had a forward-facing palm, while the V sign, with the palm facing inwards, is a dirty and offensive remark. In many parts of Europe, the sign was not known as a symbol at all before the Second World War, or simply meant the number 2, so Europeans do not know the subtleties of the direction of the palm, and both versions of the sign mean the same thing to them, victory. So an Englishman telling a European to go to hell might make the latter wonder what victory is meant. These examples show that inconsistencies in the interpretation of symbols caused by cultural differences can have undesirable results, and that, before drawing conclusions about the subtext of a person's body language or gesticulation, it is always important to bear in mind assessing his or her cultural heritage. We'll talk more in the next episode. See you later, my dear listeners.